All right, we are well and truly into the fantasy playoffs. Here in week 15, I'm giving you my starts and sits at the wide receiver position. But first, why don't you comment down below? Let me know if you made it into the playoffs, how many leagues you made it into the playoffs, or if any crazy stories happened for you to get there, or maybe you just barely missed out. Like the video to show some support. Subscribe if you like the content. All right, let's get straight to it. Again, I'm going to try and give you some guys who are kind of on the edge. I'll give you a couple desperation starts, players who are on the edge that you're not sure if you can start, but I like their matchups. First, how about Mike Williams, who came back and had a great game on Sunday Night Football. 6 targets, caught all of them, looked great with Justin Herbert, 116 yards and a touchdown. He now goes to play the Titans in week 15. And check this, the Titans give up the most points to fantasy wide receivers. Last week, it was Zay Jones. Every week before that, it was a different wide receiver. You can start Mike Williams this week versus the Titans. I know he's always boom or bust, but I love the matchup. All signs point rather to a really, really good matchup for him. Hopefully he helps you get into the next round. Next, a wide receiver that has been really up and down as of late, still playing over 90% of the snaps and still getting a good target share. Let's talk about Michael Pittman at the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota currently gives up the second most points to the fantasy wide receiver position. And you can ask Shark, you can ask Amon-Ra St. Brown, you can ask Jameson Williams if you're able to get fantasy points as a wide receiver against this defense, because they just dominated the secondary all last week. So Michael Pittman should have a great bounce back week. I'm hoping it's Matt Ryan, but even if they make the change to, let's say, Nick Foles, I don't mind that change. Pittman should be the wide receiver one regardless. Desperation, maybe Paris Campbell, Alec Pierce, desperation, I'm saying. So I don't know if I want to trust those guys with my fantasy playoff on the line, but I like Pittman to bounce back here in what should be a pretty high scoring game, hopefully, right? All right, my third star of the week, Garrett Wilson. I was gonna say he should bounce back, but he still had a 13-point game last week, 7 targets. I don't care if it's Mike White. I don't care if it's Joe Flacco. Garrett Wilson has proven that he can produce with both of those quarterbacks. So he goes to Detroit this week. Detroit gives up the 3rd most points to fantasy wide receivers. In fact, it's actually at home for the Jets, but still a very, very good matchup for the Jets. 3rd most points to fantasy wide receivers the Lions give up. Garrett Wilson, in the past 3 weeks, since they made a quarterback change from Zach Wilson, has been really, really dominant. 26 fantasy points, 24, and then last week, 13 fantasy points. The matchup's great, and he's going to continue to be the focal point of their offense. Let's rock with Garrett Wilson with our playoff hopes on the line. Next, how about another rookie wide receiver who I think can be a reliable start for you this week? That is Chris Olave versus the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta give up the 5th most points to the position. I really hope it's Jameis Winston, but maybe they stick with Andy Dalton. Honestly, who knows what this coaching staff is doing? I don't even think this coaching staff knows what they were doing. Last time I watched this team was on Monday Night Football versus the Bucks, and they decided to use Mark Ingram like Alvin Kamara and Alvin Kamara like Mark Ingram. I don't understand how any of them have their jobs. Regardless, that's not what we're here to talk about. Olave seems to be a safe option in almost every single game. This is a very good matchup for him as well. We know the talent is there. Let's just get him the ball, get him involved, and good things can happen. So I like Olave. He's a good flex this week. All right, next, a player that we've been monitoring because we believe that potentially he could fill the Will Fuller role for Deshaun Watson. And we're starting to see that here in his 2nd game with Watson. Donovan Peoples-Jones versus the Ravens. The Ravens give up the 7th most points to fantasy wide receivers. And last week, Donovan Peoples-Jones had 8 receptions on 12 targets for 114 yards. So DPJ starting to build a really nice connection with Deshaun Watson. Cooper isn't all the way healthy, unfortunately. So DPJ should be a good flex option, if you're in a deeper league. All right, the 6th start. Again, this is another desperation start, just like DPJ. I would say this is even, you could label this a deep desperation start, to be honest. Chris Moore versus the Chiefs. Okay, you can only make this start if Brandon Cooks and Nico Collins are out again this week. That is the only scenario in which you can start Chris Moore. If Cooks plays, you can potentially start him versus the Chiefs as well. But Kansas City gives up the 4th most points to fantasy wide receivers. Will the Chiefs be able to score on the Texans? Yeah, they will. Which means, will the Texans need to throw the ball? Yes. They will. Last time out, with no Cooks or Collins, Chris Moore led the team with 11 targets, caught 10 of them for 124 yards. So again, desperation start. If you have 4 or 5 flexes, some of your leagues are crazy, 32-man leagues, but this is a true desperation start in all sense of the word. All right, now we have a couple sits of the week. First, DJ Shark at the Jets. I know he's had a good couple last 2 weeks. In week 13, 14.8 points. In week 14, 21.4. He had 6 catches on 7 targets for 94 yards and a touchdown. I know. He has been really good the past 2 weeks. But the context there is the defenses he has faced have been very bad and very favorable matchups for himself. He now goes to the New York Jets during winter in this kind of weather that we're seeing on a weekly basis now versus a defense that gives up the 3rd fewest points to the position. This is not the week I want to face DJ, or I want to start DJ Chark. I would be happy if someone played him against me because I don't think it's going to be a week that's going to return much value for you. Second sit of the week, any Bears wide receiver, okay? Any Bears wide receiver at all versus the Eagles. The Eagles give up the 6th fewest points to the position. Not a matchup I want to chase. Don't think Chase Claypool is going to be worth a start. If he is, it's going to be a touchdown. And lastly, Ben Skoranek at the Packers. Packers give up the 9th fewest points. Now, I know in deep leagues, he could be in consideration. Played 100% of the snaps last time out with Baker Mayfield. Caught 7 receptions on 8 targets. Don't chase this matchup. This is going to be a much more difficult matchup for the LA Rams. So those are my starts and sits of the week at the wide receiver position. Comment down below. Let me know what you think, what you like, what you don't like. And good luck this week. We'll see you in the next video.
Yo, what's good? Thanks for watching. We got a lot more videos.
A lot more.
If you want more videos.
Watch it.
You can also subscribe.
Right now.
If you want to.
You need to.
And lastly, don't forget that you can sign up to support the show and get exclusive content by going to patreon.com/FantasyLand fam.